Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. The Assembly of First Nations annual general meeting has come to a close, but the hard work for the organization lays in the days ahead. National Chief Roseanne Archibald is alleging the Assembly of First Nations Executive Committee hid an irregular financial transaction where an employee transferred nearly $200,000 in AFN cash to their personal bank account in 2019. The allegations were in a memo recently sent to chiefs and obtained by APTN. The memo was attached to an undated confidential timeline. It describes the organization's recent controversy from Archibald's perspective, along with supporting screenshot evidence and financial statements detailing 2 years' worth of AFN contract recipients. The memo alleges the staff payout and subsequent decision to keep quiet about it set a precedent her own staff relied on when they in turn requested full payouts of their own contracts worth more than $1 million in May. You can read the whole story over on our website, aptnnews.ca. A new residence for Inuit from Nunavut who come to Ottawa for medical appointments is set to become a reality. City Council voted unanimously Wednesday morning to approve Larga Baffin's chosen South Ottawa site. But as APTN's Fraser Needham reports, the pushback from some local residents against the new facility still stings.
Any disease you can think of, Inuit go to Larga to stay.
That's Larga Baffin pastor Manitouk Thompson talking about why the facility desperately needs a new home. Its current West End location is only able to accommodate about 200 people in 100 rooms.
But because there's a lack of space, there's other hotels that are being used as overflow, and sometimes relatives are divided because they can't find space for them in that building. It's a very crowded building.
The proposed building will expand this to 220 rooms with capacity for 350 people. Even though Ottawa's City Council unanimously approved construction of the new building, Thompson says local opposition to the facility, which sometimes stereotyped Inuit, still hurts.
I was shocked. I was totally shocked from the reaction, from the public reaction. We're not criminals. Otherwise, we would be in jail. And to be treated like we're all dysfunctional families, we're dysfunctional people, drug addicts, drunks. It's shocking.
Local councillor Diane Deans originally opposed the new building, saying it will cause traffic congestion and change the residential nature of the area, but she voted to approve the project after successfully getting an amendment passed for a land use study of adjacent vacant properties.
I was very pleased that Planning Committee made a number of improvements, and I thank them for doing that. I would have liked to see more dialogue between the applicant and the community, and there's certainly a lot of work to be done at the site plan stage, but it is certainly my hope that the community and the applicant will develop a meaningful and long-lasting relationship into the future.
Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
To Thunder Bay now, where the Police Services Board has pulled together an independent expert panel to support the board as it navigates numerous ongoing issues. The panel will be reviewing concerns raised and identifying gaps and barriers in the service, as well as providing recommendations for systemic and cultural change within the embattled police service. Lawyers Candice Metallic and Janine Rachel Seymour have both just been added to that expert panel. Candice Metallic joins us now. Candice, thanks for being with us. You were recently appointed to the Thunder Bay Police Services Board Independent Expert Panel. What are you hoping to bring to the panel?
Thank you, Dennis. It's my pleasure to be here today. I participated in a investigation with the then Senator and Honorable Murray Sinclair in 2017 and 2018, and I was legal counsel to him for that investigation. So what I think I'm bringing to this expert panel is my experience and the knowledge I gained through that process, and I'm quite familiar with the circumstances, the history, and the current circumstances of policing in Thunder Bay.
And that history almost seems to be repeating. We have a police service that currently has a suspended chief, a suspended deputy chief, a police services board that's recently mostly resigned and facing human rights complaints. Why was this a role that you wanted to accept?
That's a very good question. And I've been thinking a little bit about that because given my previous experience and everything that we heard during the investigation in 2017 and 2018, I feel a deep commitment to the people, in particularly the First Nations people in Thunder Bay, to try and sort out what the fundamental issues are with respect to policing in Thunder Bay, and not just the Indigenous people, but also the everybody in Thunder Bay deserve to have a police force and a police board that is functional, that delivers effective policing in that city. So it's really about my commitment to the people to make this right.
The expert panel is holding a series of community meetings next week in Thunder Bay. What do you think you'll be hearing?
Unfortunately, due to prior commitments, I am not able to be at that community meeting, but I suspect what they're going to hear is similar to what we heard in 2017, and that is anecdotes about things that have happened in the past, people's encounters with the police force, the culture of the police force, how inattentive, the senior executives are with respect to policing Indigenous people in Thunder Bay. So I think they're going to hear firsthand what it is like to be living and to be a resident in Thunder Bay and to be policed by the Thunder Bay Police Service.
Well, these issues, have been in the spotlight for maybe the last 5 or so years. People there know, Indigenous people know this has been going on for decades. Indigenous leaders and others have called for this police service to be dismantled. Do you believe there is a way to repair relationships and restore confidence in the Thunder Bay Police Service?
One of the things we found in Senator St. Clair's report was that relationships were key to policing in Thunder Bay. And it will be interesting as we go through the expert panel process to find out how the Thunder Bay Police Services Board have implemented the recommendations of that report. Mm-hmm. And so the relationships that need to be developed, maintained, and nourished between the police community and the rest of the community, and particularly the Indigenous community in Thunder Bay, is absolutely critical. And if any changes are going to be made, there has to be a commitment amongst the people who oversee the police service, in other words, the Police Services Board, as well as the police service themselves. They have to be committed to address these issues in a very sincere and focused way. And I think that if the proper people are in place, there is some hope. And there's also the issue of looking at the governance structure of the policing in Thunder Bay. That's something else we have to take a look at to see where the flaws are and what's broken down and how can that be either repaired or looking at different options that can be presented.
Candace, we'll have to leave it there, but appreciate you taking some time and wish you all the best in the work ahead.
Many thanks to you, Will Allen.
We want to hear what you think about the policing situation in Thunder Bay or anything else you see here. Here's how you can continue that conversation. You can send your emails to news@aptn.ca. Leave a comment on aptnnews.ca. You can also find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. Follow APTN News to join the conversation and see our latest stories. Calgary police have made an arrest in the 2014 murder of 18-year-old Colton Crowshoe. Crowshoe's body was found in a water retention pond. Calgary police say charges are pending against an individual who was known to Crowshoe and that they attended the same party on the night of his death. Police say the recent help from the public helped in the investigation. The suspect's name will be released when charges have been formally laid. Colton Croshue's family say they are overwhelmed right now.
I know the family members also have that little bit of relief as this is going to come to an end soon. And but it is very difficult at this time for what is coming and what the family is going to be facing now. But at least now we can begin our healing journey and begin to heal.
Time for a quick break, but first a look at something we're working on.
I'm Lee Wilson. Coming soon, I'll be bringing you this story on old-growth logging protests on Vancouver Island near Fairy Creek. RCMP say 3 First Nations made multiple attempts to ask protesters to leave their territories for logging to continue. Last week, the RCMP started removing blockades and making arrests, but some members of those nations are leading the fight to save old growth.
There have been a number of people from the Pacheedaht community who have come into the movement and who are standing up for their territory.
This story coming soon on APTN National News.
Welcome back. The federal government announced on Monday it is one step closer to settling 2 class action lawsuits. They have to do with First Nations children and families, shortchanged by a woefully underfunded child welfare system. Sarah Clark of Clark Family Law spoke to us earlier this week to explain what's next. Sarah, thanks for being with us. Maybe you can just explain a bit for our viewers what yesterday's announcement means and what still remains to be done for organizations you work with, like the First Nations Family and Children's Caring Society.
So yesterday, Canada, the Assembly of First Nations, and a series of class action council announced that they had finalized an agreement to settle the class actions. So Canada has committed to paying $20 billion in compensation to the victims of discrimination through its child welfare program and its discriminatory application of Jordan's Principle. So that's what was announced yesterday.
So this is a bit legal, but from what we understand, the federal government still has a standing appeal on the earlier federal court ruling. In your view, is that necessary?
That's right. So what we have are sort of 2 different proceedings. We have the Human Rights Tribunal process, where the First Nations Child and Family Caring Society and the Assembly of First Nations together successfully advocated for the payment of human rights compensation to the victims. We were successful in 2019, and as you just pointed out, Canada then, brought that to the federal court. They challenged it in federal court, and we won that also. And then when we won that, they brought it up to the Federal Court of Appeal. That appeal is now stayed, so it's kind of just hanging out on the side while the class action folks have been negotiating a final settlement agreement to settle the class actions. It looks like what they want to do is bring that final settlement agreement to the tribunal and ask the tribunal to declare or make an order that its orders have been satisfied. So that's kind of the next step. It is a bit of a weird process. We have an ongoing human rights complaint and a series of class actions happening at the same time that definitely have some overlaps in terms of who is eligible.
So if everything continued to move forward, how soon could it be before settlement money is dispersed to affected children and their families?
It's hard to say right now, to be honest, because they have to go to the tribunal, and then if they get what they ask for at the tribunal, they then need to go to the federal court and have the settlement approved there. So it's hard to know what the timing is. Hopefully next year or sooner than that, but more likely next year the money would start to be rolled out.
And from what we understand, it would likely be around minimum $40,000 or so per affected person?
So that's what we hope. The Caring Society has been advocating very strongly that $40,000 needs to be the floor. That was what was argued and won at the Canadian Human Rights Tribunal, particularly for the child victims. We really want to ensure that children who have already won an entitlement to $40,000 don't see that chipped away at all through the final settlement agreement. And we, just received the final settlement agreement as signed, so we're going through it, and we just want to make sure that when they come to the tribunal that those kids in particular are protected and that those orders are respected.
Like you said, there's still some legal work obviously to be done. How will possible recipients of a settlement know what to do next and when to do it?
That's a really good question. It's been a lot of years. We won in 2019. The compensation was ordered at that time, and then various other steps have been happening over the last 3 years. So I think it's fair. I think it's a fair comment to say, how are people supposed to know what to do? I think once on the class action side, if the settlement is approved, then there probably will be a flurry of activity, and people will start to get more media coverage. Hopefully, the notices to folks on how to apply, the forms they need to fill out, all of that will be made public. But before any of that happens, we have to make sure, at least from the Caring Society's perspective, that the kids who've already won their entitlement have those entitlements respected. The other thing I think it's important to point out is we want to make sure that the supports are also there. So when the money becomes available, recipients can also access all kinds of services and supports when they get the money. We worked closely with Youth in Care and formally in Care about what would you like to see in a compensation process, and they were very clear to us that they want to see not just the financial side, but also things like financial literacy, mental health supports, cultural supports, community supports, and so ensuring that the distribution process respects those principles is going to be really important.
Sarah, we'll have to leave it there, but certainly appreciate you taking some time for us today to talk about this.
Thanks very much. Have a great day.
Coming up after the break, why the head smashed in buffalo jump remains a popular destination for visitors. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. Chelsea from Edmonton, Alberta shared this cute shot of her dog as they went on a walk. Thank you for sharing, Chelsea. If you want to be our photo of the day, send your shots to share@aptn.ca along with the description and location. Now let's take a look at your Saturday weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 21 under the sun in Charlottetown, showers and 24 in Halifax. 16 with rain in Kuujjuaq, 8 and rain in Nain. Sunny and 24 for Montreal, 23 in Val-d'Or, 23 under the sun for Sault Ste. Marie and North Bay, 26 and sunny in Thunder Bay, 28 for Sioux Lookout. Showers and 23 in God's Lake, 26 with rain in Norway House, rain and 28 for Winnipeg and Dauphin. In Saskatchewan, 29 for Regina, showers and 28 in Saskatoon, 24 with rain for Meadow Lake and Uranium City. In northern Alberta, 23 for Grand Prairie, 24 for Peace River. 29 in Lethbridge, showers and 23 for Edmonton. Rain and 21 in Vancouver, 26 with showers for Kamloops. 21 in rain in Prince George, rain and 18 for Dease Lake. 29 in Old Crow, 22 for Whitehorse. 23 with rain in Yellowknife, 30 and showers in Norman Wells, 17 in Sax Harbor, 24 for Pawlatuck, sunny and 24 in Baker Lake, 18 in Arviat, 9 in Resolute, 21 in Joe Haven. The head smashed in buffalo jump in southern Alberta has been teaching visitors about their history for 35 years. APTN's Chris Stewart visited the famous site and tells us what makes it so special.
Quentin Crowshoe has been working at Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump for 16 years. His grandfather, Joe Crowshoe Sr., was instrumental in making this historical site a place for people to come and learn about its historical significance. 3 million people have visited the site since opening in 1987. It is a federal historic site, a provincial and UNESCO heritage site. Quentin Crowshoe is one of the faces people see when they visit.
We take it up on ourselves to ensure that the story is told in the proper way and the story of what our ancestors would have wanted us to tell it. So we take it up on ourselves to ensure that we are accurate and respectful.
There were hundreds of buffalo jumps over the Great Plains. This buffalo jump is one of the oldest in North America.
Our ancestors would round up the buffalo, they would trick them and lure them to the edge of a cliff, then they would stampede them over. They were doing that for thousands of years. As a matter of fact, through radiocarbon dating, archaeological evidence, they've dated this site close to 7,000 years old. I mean, we were running buffalo over these cliffs before they were building pyramids in Egypt and Stonehenge. So this is a very, very old site.
Buffalo runners would panic and mobilize the herd. Dozens of Blackfoot members would line up on both sides of the buffalo pack and blind them using hides. The only exit the buffalo saw was the cliff.
And without knowing, some of them are lured to the edge of the cliff in what we call drive lanes. It's done in tune with the constellations, the wind, just so that they time it right, so that when the buffalo are actually being stampeded through those drive lanes, within about the last 50 meters, they're stampeded. And not only is it an optical illusion, but the sun is on its way up and it's helping to blind the animal.
75 to 200 buffalo were hunted in the fall, when the buffalo are the fattest.
Once the buffalo go over the cliff, down below the cliff here is known as the kill site, where they would finish off the animals, quarter them up, and then they would drag them out to the lower level plain where it's easier work. Everybody comes up from the camps, all the clans that are together that came to plan the hunt, carry out the hunt, they would all come together here.
And the harvest would help provide sustenance over the cold winters.
It was really the fat that they were after. The fat had all the nutrients. And they would eat the internal organs, the liver, the heart, the lungs. The tongue would be used in ceremonies. It would be consumed as well. So all parts of the animal was used.
The tradition ended in the mid-1800s, when the buffalo declined and firearms made the buffalo jump unnecessary. But its history will be told for future generations. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, head smashed in Buffalo Jump, Alberta.
Awesome stuff. Thanks, Chris. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Friday. For news anytime or more on anything you've seen here, visit our website, aptnnews.ca. I'm Dennis Ward. Thanks for being with us. Have a great night.